What's up YouTube, Dagon30 here. And if you're wondering where to start on building a new gaming PC because you're new to it or you've been out of the game for a while, I'm going to show you a guide to where to start if you want to start out to a low mid to maybe straight up mid-range gaming PC. PC parts have been expensive lately, especially in memory. In my opinion, I think there's even some shortages going on with this whole AI stuff, and let's just get started and see what we can get out of this. I'm going to use Newegg's website with their PC builder. It's kind of like PC Part Picker, but I like them too. They're pretty good. But we're going to start from scratch. So at the beginning, when I decide where to start on building a new PC, is I want to look at the case. So I'm going to click on cases. Reason being is I've seen it where people bought all their components and they bought the case they really like, but then all of a sudden their power supply or their graphics card does not fit inside that case because the case was too small. So by starting out with the case, you'll be able to know what you can fit inside of it and be able to not having to rethink your build too much or at all. And I'm going to try to keep this on the I'm going to try to keep it at a price range right around $1,200 to $1,500, but that's going to be a tall order with some of these prices I've been seeing lately. So I'm looking at the list that's provided by Newegg here. Fractal's always a good case. That's 119. But I saw one up here that caught my eye right here. Phanteks XT Pro Ultra. It's a mid tower. So it's not exactly the size of a full size PC case, but mid towers are got plenty of room and they can do a lot with them. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one because it comes with its own fans already built in. And from my experience, because I've had this case before, they are a little on the louder side, but the cooling is still really good. And honestly, if you're wearing headphones or you do some fan curve adjustments, you won't even notice that much, if at all. So let's go ahead and select this. We'll start out with this. Now, if you click right here and you scroll down, you'll be able to see the dimensions that it could fit. So for your graphics card, it can fit a graphics card up to 415 millimeters, and a power supply unit length of 270 millimeters. So now you know what numbers you'd have to deal with. So after that, I'm going to start out with the motherboard. Now, with the motherboard and your CPU, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to go with AMD or you're going to go with Intel. And me personally, I'm good either way. They're both excellent, but I'm going to do an AMD one this time. Maybe in another video I'll build one with Intel. So let's select motherboard. I'm going to choose AMD. And let's see what they got going here. Now, on motherboards, I do like to spend a little extra because if you're buying a cheap motherboard, you're going to end up getting a cheap product. And I know everyone has their preferences and stuff, but I figured out if you're spending right around $200 or more usually on a motherboard, you're going to be all right. You can get away with some $150 ones like this because ASUS makes some excellent boards in their own right. But I want to see if I can do Gigabyte X870 gaming Wi-Fi 6 right here. This will work. Gigabyte's been making Gigabyte's been making motherboards many a year, and they've proven themselves pretty good for a while. It's an AM5, 256 gigabyte of max memory it can hold, and it's only $189. Yeah, this is definitely a good value. So we're gonna hit select. Now we got our motherboard. Let's start out with CPU, because that's a very expensive component in general. Now, if you want to stick with gaming, a lot of people say get your X3D chips. X3D is great, but not everyone can afford X3D. So I'm going to scroll here and see what I think. I did a video recently, if they have it here, on a 9600X, and then I'm going to put out another video. Well, here's a 9700X, the 320 $29. That's kind of a lot, but I did the 9600X, which was a pretty good, it's a 6-core. I'm trying to see if they have it here listed. They may not have it. It looks like they don't. That would have been good for 1080p and 1440p gaming. But since it's not available here, because like I said, I think parts are kind of scarce right now, in my opinion. Oh, actually, here it is. I just missed it. This is a great CPU for starting out a build. If you need a 1080p build, even some 1440 at mid-range, you can definitely game with this and without breaking your bank. But let's see if we can do a little bit better than that. For $323, we can get a 7900X Ryzen 9. It's 12 core. Let's go ahead and play around with this. If I have to go back and make some adjustments to make it work for a budget, I will. But let's go ahead and play with that. Now, memory, man, that's a hot topic. That's definitely gone up in price and skyrocketed recently. Now, the thing about AMD CPUs is they're not very friendly to anything past 64,000 meta transfers and a CL of 30-ish, maybe 34, maybe a little higher. You want to keep it at its sweet spot. They even AMD said that if you have 6,000 with a CL of 30, that's the perfect sweet spot. The problem is memory is expensive, and the higher CAS latency is the CL, the little bit slower the transfer is going to be. So I'm going to try to keep it right around 30 to 34, and right around 6,000 to 6,400 meta transfers. Like right here. Man, this would have been great right here, but man, look at that price. So let's try to go. Oh, there we go. 174, 6,000, CAS latency of 30. Patriot Viper Venom. That's pretty decent RAM right here. And a not too bad of a price. There's actually one up here, even better. Oh, that's CL36. Now, let's go ahead and stick with that. I think this is more value right here for just a few extra bucks. There we go. Now let's look at power supply. Now my basic rule of thumb is when I'm building a PC, I like to do about 850 watts. That way it leaves a little headroom for future upgrades to your PC build, depending on what you get. Because changing out a power supply and all its cords and wires and all that, that's a pain in the butt. But let me see what we got here. 750 watts at 169. Of course, they make some good power supplies. Seasonic is a pretty decent company too. 1,000 watts, we don't need that. Not for this build at least. So let's see. Oh, there's 850 watt as well. 79 bucks. See, I'm not too, I don't think so. Because I think you still have to spend a little bit. I do believe in you pay for what you get, and I think I need to go a little bit higher than this for this build. There we go, 119 MSI. They make some pretty good power supplies, low noise. That's always a plus for some people. It's A+ gold, meaning that it'll maintain a good amount of energy for years to come. And it's come with a 10-year warranty, so that, hey, you can't beat that with a stick, huh? So let's go ahead and do that one. Not to mention, it's fully modular, so that makes it real easy for cable management. So let's go ahead and select this. Now that I selected this power supply, I want to make sure that this will fit my Phanteks case, fit inside of it. So, what was the Phanteks case measurement for a power supply? That was about 270 millimeters, right? So it's got to be less than 270 millimeters for it to fit. So let's go click on that. It's only 150 millimeters, so definitely going to fit. So no issues there. That's great. And another rule of thumb, if you ever have to change out your power supply, say if this went bad and then they sent you a new one, use the new cables that came with the new one. Never reuse your old cables, even if it's the same one. because sometimes manufacturers do revisions to the same product and it might have different cables, and you wouldn't know until it either burns out your system or things just won't work right. All right, so next you're going to need some storage, right? So let's do that. I prefer solid state, so we're going to stick with solid state. You can get away with 1 terabyte, but man, the way the games are getting nowadays and the size, I would do at least 2. So that's 159. Yeah, this is pretty good. I'm more of a Samsung fanboy myself when it comes to this. It's a little more expensive, but you know, if I want to keep it within the budget, WD Black's been in the game for a while and they're pretty trustworthy in my opinion. So let's go ahead. What they got right now? That's 1 terabyte. Yeah, let's go ahead and keep it with this one. 160, it's not bad. All right, you're gonna need something to cool your CPU, right? Because gotta make sure your stuff stays cool. So a lot of people choose air cool, some people choose AIO, some do straight liquid cooling, which is kind of an AIO, but I like AIO, so I'm gonna stick with it. Corsair Nautilus is one of the good ones. It's $129. That's not too bad, but I'm looking at this right here, the Cooler Master Liquid 360. This will definitely fit inside the Phanteks case on top. It's good for AM5 and AM4. And then with the motherboard, yeah, this will work, and it's only 99 bucks. And Cooler Master makes excellent AIOs. So let's hit select. All right, so we're already right around $1,004. Now keep in mind though, we're not getting monitors or UPSs, keyboards, or mouses. This is just building a PC. So when you're making a PC budget, and if you don't already have a monitor and keyboard and mouse and things like that, you got to make sure. So if I want to keep it right around $1,500, this is before taxes even. Now it's determined, that's how much I have it right around $400, let's just say, for a graphics card. And I'm trying to keep this as a mid-range PC, so a graphics card that can handle some 1440p gaming. Let's see what's available here. The Asus TUF Gaming 5070 Overclock Edition, 12 gigabytes. 12 gigabytes is a good starting point. I think, in my opinion, 12 gigabytes is the next level of entry. You can do 8, but the way games are being made now, you're going to want at least 12 to 16 starting. But let's see if we got any better deals. $584, that's a lot of money right there. Here's a 9060 XT, $379 at 16 gigabytes. Now, this Asus TUF Gaming 5070, it's got a little more. It may not have as much gigabytes as this, but this has a higher bit rate transfer than this does. I know that for a fact. But you're also, look at the price difference. This card runs faster than this one, but this one has more. What I would do is I would still stick with this, because the 9060 XT can still do 1440p gaming right around mid settings, maybe even high settings depending on the game. You can definitely crush 1080p gaming. You can do well within 1440p gaming. So at this price, I think I'm going to stick with this, but I want to make sure before I make any other decisions. There's a 299 5060. See, that's 8 gigabytes. I wouldn't touch that unless you're just wanting to do 1080p gaming. There's a 5070 Ti. Look at that price. Whew, that's a little much. 9070, even that's kind of like, So yeah, let's go ahead and stick with that one. 9060 XT, 9060 XT, they're same price really. I think Sapphire makes a better card in general. They've been in the game making cards for AMD for many a year, so I was going to select that. And now, just before, let's check one more time to make sure this card, which I'm pretty sure will fit the case. So how big was the cards? The graphics cards, 415 millimeters, and then this card's length is only, did I miss it? I probably missed it. Where is it? It's definitely a smaller card. I know for a fact it could fit. I might just be missing it, or they just didn't post it. Yeah, they just didn't post it on here. Oh, here it is. I just had to scroll down. 240 millimeters. So yeah, it definitely fit inside that case. So, so right around 1346 right here, guys. Now, if you want to go back in, see if you can find another card, you know, you can, but this is what I would stick with to start. And it's a great base. Because if you do taxes, it probably ends up right under $1,500 after this. Now, one thing to check before you stop here is the estimated watts is 610 already for everything I have here. That's not including extra hard drive here, even though these don't take that much. So, what was my power supply? 850. There you go. You got plenty of headroom. You can leave some upgradable space in the future. And that's where, this is the build I would start out with right here. And if you like the video I showed you, feel free to like and subscribe. Leave me some comments below if you disagree or agree with anything, or if you have any questions and you want to have a conversation. Yeah, just drop a comment, like and subscribe, and yeah, I'm here to help everyone out with the knowledge that I have, and I'm also learning myself still, because you can never stop learning. So yeah, until then, next time, I will see y'all later. Bye.